This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, we're talking with Zahid Aslam about how your Google Analytics might be lying to you. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. This week we're talking about Google Analytics with guest Zahid Aslam. Zahid, thank you very much for joining us, first of all.
Thank you.
And so tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so currently I'm a lecturer in digital marketing in CIT. I was working in the commercial sector for, I'm not going to admit to how many years, but quite a few years in lots of different countries. And I was working for a company called Reuters, who you might know as the largest online news agency. Yeah. But they were very much leaders in terms of doing stuff over the internet. I've worked for Paddy Power. I've worked for a local but fantastic e-commerce agency called Studio 49 here in Cork. And about 5 years ago, I transitioned into lecturing, which has been fun.
Brilliant.
Very
good. So I suppose today what we'd love to chat about basically is Google Analytics, because I think whether you're a small business, medium, large business, there's a very good chance that all those companies have Google Analytics on their site. Now, how people are interpreting that data, whether they're even logging in and looking at the data is another story. But I suppose in some ways, could you just tell us maybe as an overall how maybe people are misrepresenting the data, or how Google Analytics might be lying to them in different ways?
Well, there's first of all, I think it's worth saying that Google Analytics is brilliant. Okay, so if anybody is thinking, oh, maybe it's lying to me, that is no excuse at all for not jumping into your Google Analytics account and checking it and looking at it. And I think increasingly people know that we live in a data-driven world. But especially, I think, for small businesses or for certain people, it can be difficult to access it. But yeah, Google Analytics is a wonderful tool. In terms of how it can be lying to you, Google Analytics always tells the truth, but we don't always understand what it's trying to say to us. So it's really us trying to understand and not necessarily just take things at face value, but kind of look beyond it. I think Google have done an awful lot on the platform to make it simple, or make it, perhaps simple is the wrong word. Google have done a lot to make the platform simpler than it used to be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And in trying to make it simpler, which is, very welcome, what they've also done is kind of maybe encourage people to take things at face value. So sometimes there's just areas there that you need to dig down a bit into. So when you're looking at it and you think, okay, this is my number of users. At a very base level, you want to be thinking, okay, this is my number of users per what? My number of users per week, per month, per year. But also, sort of beyond that, it kind of serves you well to kind of think about, okay, what do they mean by user here?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That one person who's been coming back every day for 30 days, or one person who's...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And is that one person, for example, what Google typically defines as a user is really a device.
Yes.
So, Mark, if you're buying a new pair of galoshes for the coming winter, and you look at it on your mobile phone on the way home, perhaps, and then sort of on the tablet, and then you finally make the purchase from your laptop, which would be a pretty typical scenario. We research on small devices and act on big devices. Google will show you 3 users because it will treat each device as a user.
Yeah. And with cross-device tracking, I know it's certainly not perfect by any means, but do you think that is helping a lot with that information? If
you get it set up right.
Yeah.
So Facebook actually does cross-device tracking much better, and most of the social media companies are better at it than Google. Google Analytics natively is based on cookies and JavaScript. So for anyone who doesn't know, a cookie is a tiny little program that gets dropped onto your phone or onto your laptop and executes. And because it's based on that, that's what the architecture is built on. Anything that Google does is kind of a workaround.
Yeah.
Basically. Whereas Facebook and other social media are built on the concept of an account.
Yeah.
Track your account everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and the other thing as well is
they
that like with big devices especially, I mean like big devices are often shared devices in a home.
That's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like Joe, you could easily have your partner, brother, sister, anyone buying something, and it would have nothing to do with you, but you could be logged into your Facebook account, or you could be logged into your Google Analytics or your Gmail account, and it's you could have a lot of different things going on.
One thing I do find very interesting, we have a couple of Instagram accounts that a couple of different people would be logged into, and you see that the ads being delivered then to that Instagram account are almost based off the personalities of all those different people.
Absolutely. You really notice it on YouTube actually, when you're kind of looking at YouTube and thinking, what? Why am I watching Peppa Pig or whatever?
Yeah.
So I think one thing with Google Analytics that, in terms of it lying to you, is a lot of companies would be visiting your own website an awful lot.
Yeah.
And that's not data that's data that they're seeing in their analytics, that if they're looking from a top-down view, they think, oh, this is my traffic.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, there's obviously ways for them to filter it out. But is that something you think that the regular person, Google Analytics, that they can jump in and do themselves? Should they be looking to agencies to help them with that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the answer between doing it yourself and agencies is pretty much always the same. If you can, do it yourself.
Yeah.
If you can't, if you don't have the skill set or you don't have the hours, but you do have the money, then get an agency.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, when you are looking to either build a new website or when you're looking to sort of move your marketing over, what you will find is an agency that has the capability to kind of do this stuff. So if you're a very small business, you might go to a sort of a part-time web designer who'll just knock up something, but they won't really understand Google Analytics. So what they'll do is they'll just do the very basic implementation. And a good mark of a good agency is that they have an implementation plan for Google Analytics, and they will set your account up right, or in the house style from the beginning. Absolutely.
Yeah. Often it comes to us, like websites will come to us and we go in and we'll look at their analytics, and there's not even a goal.
Yes, absolutely.
Like at the very basic level, and we'd have to go into Google Tag Manager and start trawling through, because it's unique to every website and every company what they want from Google Analytics as well. It could be manipulated very well to a lot of different companies, especially it's completely different if you're e-commerce or lead gen or whatever you want from your website, as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose another way that that it might be lying to, and everybody sees this, is they look maybe at their Facebook insights or the Facebook ads, and they see all the traffic or all the reach and all the engagement, but then they don't see that in Google Analytics. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, so just before we started the podcast, we were talking about the kind of the Facebook versus Google war, and sometimes as kind of digital marketeers or businesses, we can feel like we're almost kind of caught between these two titans, these two gods that are kind of trying to battle each other. It's like Zeus versus Poseidon, and we're just kind of the collateral gets damaged in the middle. And if you kind of take it back, if I go back to maybe 7-10 years ago, when I was working at Paddy Power, at that time Facebook was emerging, had just floated, had massive stock valuations, but in terms of where the digital advertising money was going, it was all flowing towards Google. Google had something like a 95% market share of the paid advertising, and once they bought out DoubleClick as well, they pretty much had it. And Facebook were trying to get back into that market. They knew that they had to make money by advertising. They knew they were never going to be a subscription base. So they started, one of their first things they had to do was start to try to produce some analytics package or some equivalent to Google Analytics, something that told people how things were doing and what was happening. And one of the things that they started to do was kind of push up their figures so that the figures looked enormous compared to Google Analytics. So what you had certainly 5 years ago, I'd say, skipping forward a few years, but maybe 5 years ago, as I was talking to business owners who'd say, well, I can see what's happening on my website. I can see there's this number of page impressions, but I can also see I have this number of followers and this reach and these number of impressions on Facebook, and the Facebook figures are better. It takes me 20 minutes to knock out a Facebook post, or maybe even 5 minutes, and I can see that I'm immediately getting, sort of this reach. But you could say it's like comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah.
It's not really. I mean, it's like comparing, I don't know, apples and the colour purple.
Yeah.
They're just not at all the same things. They're not even types of fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you still see a lot of that on kind of Facebook and Instagram now as well. In terms of, so you go and you look at video views. Oh my God, look at all my video views, and you dig deeper, and it's that's 3 seconds of my 2-minute video.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So really, what you want to be thinking about, I mean, even if you look at your own behavior or look at the people around you, I see my missus on the phone using Facebook, and she's constantly, you see the finger flicking from bottom to top, flicking up, flicking past the posts, and for all the posts that have developed impressions, for example, for all the reach that you have, for all the large number of followers, how many people are actually acting on any one particular post?
Yeah.
Whereas when you're talking about a web page, if somebody has fallen on a web page, they may or may not act on it.
Yeah.
In e-commerce, they may buy, they may not, but at least there's a decent chance that they are there because they wanted to. They're not just kind of skimming past, 5 posts at a time.
Yeah, that's the other thing with recall as well. I mean, with someone swiping through, even if you swiped back up for a second to look at something else, can you recall even that impression? An impression is such a word, is one of those words where you feel like it means a lasting or something. Do you know, it has that kind of vibe to it or something.
Yeah, it's got to make a mark.
Yeah, that it's made a mark on someone. Whereas actually, even if you went on a web page by accident, you could probably probably recall something of it, you know what I mean? Whereas like if you're just scrolling, that's not really, it's not even, maybe not even brand awareness really.
Yeah, I suppose that I just on a broad level, we always look at Google and Google Ads as like the direct side of marketing. We look at Facebook and Instagram as building the brand.
Yeah.
That's on an extraordinarily broad level. But as you say, there's a very big gap between what you're seeing in those Google Analytics and what you're seeing in those Facebook and Instagram stats.
Yeah.
So another way that maybe your Google Analytics are aligned to you is referral spam. So if you could tell us a bit about that, what it is and what you could do about it.
Okay. So I've just kind of, I suppose, been ragging on Facebook for kind of, inflating their figures. Google can produce some very inflated figures as well in their analytics packages. And one of the things that happens is that by producing massively inflated figures in terms of page impressions and so on, it makes your conversion rates look really bad. So I suppose a couple of things that can make those figures look very large. You kind of hinted at one of them earlier when you were talking about internal companies and sort of traffic from inside a company hitting a website. Another one is through spam traffic, and I don't want to get too technical here, mostly because I'm not a techie and I'll make myself look stupid. But you have to get your head around the concept of bots or robots. Yeah. Do we think people know what these are? Do we explain them?
I'd say so. Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have robots trawling around the internet all the time, and there are good robots and there are bad robots.
Yeah.
So, for example, a good robot might be Google itself indexes the web and produces its search engine by having a robot that goes and visits every page. But robots aren't particularly difficult things to set up. Kind of a first or second year graduate probably has enough skills to kind of go and write a robot and release it on the web. So people can release robots for all sorts of different reasons. And those robots will trawl the web trying to hit every single page on every single website out there. And if you have hundreds or thousands of these robots hitting your website, then they can make it look like They can make it look like you're getting a lot of page visits, a lot of users, and a very low amount of time spent on each particular page. Yeah. So, and that it can have other consequences as well. So there's a couple of things you can do. If you go into the administration side of the analytics, I think the icon's at the very bottom of the left-hand menu. You can go into the admin section and you can start setting up filters. And there's a really handy checkbox that just says, remove traffic from all known bots and spiders. And essentially it is as simple as kind of finding the right thing and ticking that box. And that'll cure 95% of it. There's a catch. Why does nobody do this? Yeah. What's going to happen is you're going to log in tomorrow or next week or the week after, and the traffic is going to have plummeted. And this setting is not retrospective. It will only work from the day that you turn it on. So again, I mean, what you really want to be doing is going to a web agency that has enough enough know-how that when they start doing when they implement Google Analytics, they turn it on for you and it's always there from day one. But agencies can be reluctant to do it because let's say you go and hire an agency to do SEO work and the first thing they do is make your traffic decrease by 3/4. It's a difficult message.
It is, and that's what that is. The thing is kind of balancing the client expectations on something like that as well. Now you can always back it up with actual rank data. Absolutely. But it is because I know from experience it is difficult to when you go to a client and they see this line of just a drop off. You're like, they just don't. It's something with graphs. Once they see that line, hate it.
Absolutely. So you really need to. Agencies need to be explaining it and not be afraid of doing it and not be afraid of communicating it. But by far and away, the best thing is to get it set up from day one. There is also, we've kind of talked twice about this idea of internal traffic and all the traffic coming from people within your organization. And again, there are settings within the admin section of Google Analytics where you can filter out traffic. So you can say, okay, this is the IP address of my company, and I'm just going to set this filter so that no traffic is going to show in this main report. Or you can get more sophisticated, so you can set up 2 reports or 2 different customer segments. So you can say, okay, this is my internal traffic, but this is the external traffic from people who are genuinely likely or more likely to purchase my products and services.
I worked somewhere before where that was the exact case, but all of us needed to use the website constantly to either send people information or links so I was probably hitting the website at least 10 times an hour, like just working. And then we started using an agency and they filtered out the IP address and we were like, oh crap.
You think you're doing so well and you're reaching so many,
and then we were like, so many people visit this page but never actually complete the process, fill out a form, do this, and it was obviously just me on the page for the most part.
So I suppose overall, look, if you were talking to a small, medium-sized business, would there be overall kind of any kind of tips you would have for them in terms of Google Analytics, what they should or shouldn't be doing, or any like little gems of information that you'd like to share with them?
Little gems. Little
or
gems
big gems.
I sold all my little gems. Little gems that fit neatly into podcast. Possibly not. I think. There's a few things. And first of all, I think you almost kind of have to admit that analytics for digital marketing is a bit of a mare. I mean, we try to make things simple, but just think about the tools that are out there. What have we got? We've got Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Facebook Analytics, Facebook Insights, Facebook, what's the advertising thing called?
Ads Manager.
You've got Google used to be Google AdWords, now it's Google Ads. We've only covered 2 platforms so far.
Throw Google Optimize in there as well. You want to do some split testing?
Chuck in Google Tag Manager.
I
mean, it is a mess.
If you saw all of the tabs on my computer at the moment, it's literally exactly everything you've called out.
Absolutely. So I can't blame. I think if you're a small business whose main focus isn't digital marketing, but you're trying to kind of promote your business, I can't blame anybody for feeling overwhelmed. And to a certain extent, I'm going to be a bearer of bad news here. It can get worse before it gets better. In that there can be a bit of kind of just being thrown into the ocean and kind of wondering how much Let me rephrase that.
It is a sea of data, but you do need to kind of pull out. You just need to nail down what you want and just kind of you don't need to completely ignore the rest, but just kind of keep your focus on what you need from it more so than trying to swim through it.
Goal, if people are doing goal tracking and analytics, at least they're getting, more of a better data on what's actually taking place on the site.
So Jen's sort of mentioned before about working for a place or seeing sites that don't have goals. I think goals are really important, and one of the most important things I think is not just throwing yourself into this sea of data to see what you can learn, but trying to think about it strategically. And strategically generally kind of means taking the high level view. So, think about the business. Think about what you're trying to achieve from the business. Think about what your KPIs are generally, or what the things are that you can measure or would like to measure. And then think about, well, how can I extract these from Google Analytics? And try not to kind of chase too many rabbits down the hole. Try not to get too lost. You'd hear a podcast and someone's talking about bounce rate and you think, oh my God, my bounce rate is too high. And then, 2 weeks later, you hear something about page duration and it's, oh, my page duration is too low. And you can end up kind of getting lost in it all. So you really have to kind of focus on, this is what I need to find out. This is what's going to drive my business forward. Identify those kind of few key metrics and then keep monitoring them. And then every time you do stuff, be thinking about, if I'm spending $1,000 on this, if I'm spending $5,000 on this, if I'm putting in 200 hours into this thing, how am I going to measure it? What do I expect to see different in Google Analytics right out at the beginning, and then be watching to see whether you can see that change at the end.
Yeah, definitely. So you're a lecturer in CIT. You've been my lecturer in CIT as well when we were doing the Masters in Digital Marketing course.
And a great student you were too.
Thanks. And so do you want to tell people a little bit more about the course if they're interested in taking part in it at some point, or any other courses available?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you asked. So we have some digital marketing courses that run in CIT that are extremely well established and I believe pretty well regarded. We have a 15-week course that's great for small business owners and also good for people who have some marketing skills or maybe not even that much marketing skills, but really want to kind of dive into digital marketing. And that's available. You can either come and study it at the Bishopstown campus or, like you, Jen, you can study it online, which means it's accessible from anywhere in the world.
And you can wear your pajamas.
That's something I didn't know.
No, but I would 100% vouch for it. I mean, I've just finished the master's program myself online, and a lot of people say to me, how did you do it online? Like how? But actually, it's Adobe Connect, isn't it?
It used to be Adobe Connect. We've got an even better one now. So as well as having the 15-week program, we also have a 2-year part-time master's course. And again, that's available. You can either study it on campus or you can study it online. And basically, Jen, you studied online. Yeah. It's not that different from studying on campus, really.
Really not. I mean, you can do everything from put your hand up to tell the lecturer to speak louder.
I mean, I think one thing that you do kind of have to understand is that there are a lot of companies offering online education out there, and what they basically want to do is produce really glossy videos and then enroll 10,000 people in a go. We're not like that at all. No. CIT comes from a very different background. So essentially what we do is we do run lectures online, but we get everybody to try to attend as many lectures live as possible. Yeah, and then, everybody's asking questions. They're putting their hands up virtually or physically. It's so much more interactive than I had imagined before I started, because I was kind of wondering, was it going to be a little bit glossy videos and stuff, but absolutely not. You're definitely very interactive. You definitely, if you're doing it online, you need a little bit of a quiet space, computer, headset. You need to be able to sit down and engage with it, and it'll obviously be more worth your while if you're engaging properly like that as well. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so there's our shameless tout for the Digital Marketing Certificate in CIT and the Masters of Digital Marketing Strategy in CIT.
Fantastic. Zahid Aslam, thank you very much.
Thank you.